I'm Kelly Lewis,
I'm Tiffany Jones.
and we are your revenue insiders coming to you from 2026. New year. Ooh,
2025.
2025. That was a year, y'all. Uh, Lots of ups and downs, and I am ready for maybe a
A
calmer,
cocktail?
a cocktail too,
Yeah.
but a calmer 2026.
Yeah.
I don't know. How are you feeling?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It was a roller coaster in like a ton of different ways. I don't know that life gets calmer. That's like every week I say, like, I'm super busy this week and next week will be better. And it never is.
It's
So
true.
I don't know about calmer, but I would like something more predictable.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm okay being busy, but I need some predictability. I don't want to be like, you know, jostled here and there all the time. That's what's exhausting.
Totally. I think we both had good career years. You got promoted to SVP, took on new responsibility. I
We did
launched the consulting business and,
out there. Yeah.
off and running. So yeah, it was a crazy year.
Yeah. We had the kids went through all kinds of changes. Harry broke his arm. Betty and Maggie have been, friends and not friends.
Oh yeah, our daughters, y'all.
6-year-old girls, man.
They're more like sisters than they are anything, but they fight a lot. Yeah, and then for those of you that have followed kind of my updates since we started the Revenue Insiders, my mom had a double lung transplant over the
Yes,
holidays.
she did. I mean, her recovery is miraculous. Modern medicine is.
Yeah, she was out of the ICU in less than a week and out of the hospital in less than 2 weeks. She's running 30 minutes on an elliptical now, less than a month out of surgery. So if you're not a donor, so thankful for that. And then, of course, my dad passed in October.
Yeah.
Personal life was a
Ups
little
and
crazy.
downs. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh, you went through it in 2025. So I think predictable is the
predictable sounds great to me.
yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so 2026. This is the episode. These episodes always are top listened to, top viewed.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to do this one. 2026 predictions for go to market.
Yes.
Okay, Tiffany, give us your first one.
Okay. I mean, coming out of the gate strong. This one may be a little bit obvious, but I think that this is the year that AI agents become your shadow RevOps team. There have been so many AI agent companies focused on like the SDR agent or your partner, your PDR agent, like all of these external facing agents. But the efficiency you gain when you put AI agents in your RevOps workflow, you're going to end up with companies, multiple companies are going to end up with these shadow RevOps orgs of just AI agents. And I said, was it a 2025 prediction or just an episode that there will be, maybe it was at Dreamforce one year, there's
Could have
going
been
to
our
be,
half year one.
maybe there will be a time when there is a role in RevOps just managing agents. I think
Yes, you did say this.
this is the year because they are going to take over the RevOps space. I think that's where the next focus is for agentic development.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. You ready? What do you think the correct human to agent ratio is? So if you're a CRO and you're starting to track this, what's a good target to have by like the end of Q4 2026?
Okay, end of Q4 2026. I am not going to put my CRO hat on. I'm going to put my cranky board member hat on, and
Okay, I like that better actually.
I want you to have a 10-to-1 ratio, 10 agents for every one RevOps team member you have.
Hmm.
Buried in this prediction is that specialized agents are the way to go. I think you don't want general agents. Like you want to build each one for very specific tasks. And so think about the role of someone that runs territories for your organization. You want an agent that's optimizing data. You want an agent that is looking at scoring of your ICP. You want an agent that is looking at like balancing factors at lead flow and how that's working across. You want it to probably an agent moving accounts around when they're incorrect or when leads come in. Like you can start to rattle off all those individual things. So I think that the magic number that your cranky board member is going to start to expect is 10 agents to one RevOps person.
Okay. I like it.
Okay. What about you, Kel? Give me your first.
First one. Okay. I spend a lot of time with organizations thinking about ICPs, a lot of time. And what I realize is what often happens is you build an ICP, you build out your target accounts, and then they sit there for a year, 2 years, sometimes more than that.
Mhm.
And so I think because we have the data, we have AI, your ICP is going to be more dynamic. And you're going to have the ability to get more dynamic. And when I say that, I think you're no longer just going to be looking at who could buy, but really who should buy,
Mm,
who can implement our solution and who can realize value so that we can expand them. I think that's always been part of the ICP model, but maybe less than it should have. And I think there's going to be more intent there.
that's super interesting. For me, okay, put on your Revenue Insiders consulting hat, and a
Okay.
CRO comes to you and says, rebuild me my ICP from scratch for this coming year. How do you practically think about like designing a
Oh my
dynamic?
gosh. Okay. Well, that's a full episode, but for sure. If not like a 4-hour workshop. But I think what I'm hearing quite often is where you shouldn't start is looking what you're doing today.
That's so true.
I think the first thing you do is you look at your own data and say, well, this is where we're successful. But just because what made you successful the last 10 years doesn't mean that's what's going to make you successful the next 5 years. And so I think you really need to get into the market and do market research.
Okay.
That means talking to customers. That means to talking to people who didn't buy. Why they didn't buy. Was it just bad messaging? Was it a bad salesperson? I've worked with a lot of organizations who actually say, well, we changed our ICP after we talked to the sales team. No, 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 no. So I think in a dynamic ICP, you're learning from what works. So as your product is changing, everyone's product's changing so fast right now. And so as your product's changing, what's working, what's not. And I think there's a person almost, and again, you should probably turn this into an agent. You do know better than me, but to start looking at your data and really thinking really quickly, like, hey, you're having success in a ICP that we hadn't considered before.
Hmm.
Should we bring these accounts in? Should we test them? What does that look like? And how do we create some more agile moments for that? You also can't bombard your sales team to learn a whole new ICP. So what does your agile motion look like? Do you have a team that's just really good at targeting these new accounts and they're kind of a strategic team that does that? Or I think there's a lot you have to think through there.
Okay. That's the first chapter of a playbook for free from.
For sure.
No, I agree. I think that we are constantly evaluating our ICP right now. So I think that's spot on.
Okay. Second prediction, Tiffany.
Okay. Second prediction. We're already seeing this, so maybe it's like a gimme, but this is the year that I think we are going to see a pretty big transition from seat-based contracts in the RevOps SaaS space to consumption-based contracts or even outcome-based contracts. There has to be a shift because as you think of building out all these AI agents, all of a sudden you have all these like users of your system that don't really meet the seat model. And as all these companies deploy AI, they have to move to a consumption based. There's just no other way to make it work. I think we're seeing that across all companies that have a big AI piece. So I think that's the shift we're gonna really see.
So I come from a healthcare background, and value-based pricing was very hot. I don't know, call it 10 years ago even. And there were a lot of challenges with it. And the one thing I question on like the
Mm.
practicality of that is what RevOps leader, sales leader, what happens to your comp plan in that model?
Oh, I don't want to think about that. I'm just trying to.
Okay, fair enough. Just give
Well,
me my prediction. Don't make me explain.
no, I think it's a great question. We were talking about it. I don't have any consumption based pricing where I
Okay.
am today. And so I have not had to tackle that. But I was thinking like, how do you work smarter, not harder? And like when we get there, I'm just going to ask Salesforce what they're doing.
Oh yeah, because they are doing this, right?
They already have consumption based modeling. So plug a little Salesforce on Salesforce and figure it out. No, I think that, I mean, there's lots of consumption based markets out there that aren't necessarily tech that do commission plans. And while it's not my area of expertise, I do think there's no need to reinvent that wheel from an incentive perspective. There are strategies that are known and work for incentivizing people. And I think that's my big takeaway is don't go create something very elaborate. Go do your research outside of like your core market or your background and pull the broader compensation teams out there and find the companies that do consumption-based pricing. Healthcare is a great example for like reusable things. Like there's a consumption-based side of the model that is a part of a lot of people's healthcare comp plan. So I think you can borrow from industries like that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Kelly, you're number two. I want to hear it.
Number two, so I'm going to go into my sales enablement roots. I always like to talk about a methodology. We're going to talk about Challenger a little bit on this one.
Ooh.
I think the buyer, we know this actually, this is not even that much of a hot take at all, is that the buyer is coming in more educated. And so I think the traditional Challenger consultative approach
Mm.
is actually going to make buyers pretty upset.
Mm.
I love Challenger. There are pieces of Challenger that I think are amazing, but I think we have to alter how we use Challenger and any methodology that has that more consultative selling approach to it. And the reason simply is buyers aren't going to give you the time and space to do that.
Yeah.
They are really going to want you to, yes, be consultative, but like more to the point than maybe you want to be.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. I can feel that in even how I show up in some of the conversations I've had. It's also maybe a little bit of my personality to just
Me too.
jump over the top. But okay, what is the number one most embarrassing thing you think that someone is going to do on a discovery call? Like, what's the biggest faux pas as you move away from that consultative over explaining that you see happening with sellers?
I just think if you go too far away from what it is, the problems you solve, and this is where I think it happens, is you're told to do consultative, you're told to come in with insights. You pull an insight from that's over here that has nothing to do with problem A that your buyer is trying to solve, and you think you're coming across smart because you're being consultative and you're giving them insights, but it doesn't connect, and people are too smart for that. And I think that's what will happen really quickly is no one has the patience for that anymore. They're going to say, get to the point. That doesn't have to do with this. And I want to talk about this.
Okay, so that leads me into my next prediction.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm just on an AI theme, like nothing new here. That's
Shocking.
Tiffany.ai over here. I think that, I mean, again, we have agents everywhere. And I think that hiring profiles are going to completely flipped on their head. So you think about a traditional sales hiring process, we'll focus it on sales. You're always looking for someone that has repeatable results. They have the connections for the people, like they've sold into similar spaces, all of those things. I think that those are great to have, but you can find a lot of those connections using AI. Like a lot of these tools give you, like, serve up all this research for you so instantaneously. I think that EQ is going to be the number one thing that you have to hire for. And I think that goes directly to what you're saying of like you don't want people that are going to screw up and not read the room correctly and just like rattle off the stats on their messaging brief that product marketing gave them without like truly understanding everything going on, right? So I think
Totally.
that's coming this year for sure.
Okay. So there's a lot of different traits that come with EQ,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
curiosity, resilience, coaching, like all the different things. When you have AI doing the heavy lifting, what single EQ trait do you think becomes the most important?
I think that it is the ability to empathize is the wrong word, but to connect and understand the people around you. And I think back to prior conversations we've had with other guests around like active listening, your ability to truly like be in the moment so that you're understanding, you're reading the room and you are absorbing people's energy. And if they want you to move on or they're very interested in things. And I don't think it falls into any of those very classic, like traits of EQ,
Yeah, that's
kind of
fair.
a few pieces of a few of them, but that I think is the specific role that you're looking for. And I think a bonus tip, the way that you start to evaluate your candidates for something like this is asking them in a situation of conflict at work. You can pit them against RevOps in the scenario. how do they best resolve it? And you want people that are going to immediately like get on a Zoom or find an in person and understand the person to figure out what the problem is so they can break through. You don't want someone that says, I'm going to escalate above this, or I'm going to go try to solve it on my own, or I'm going to ask the peer next to me what they did and work around it. You want someone that's going to figure out how they move past it. And that will tell you that they know how to read a room. And so if they can just get in front of that person, they can understand the problem to move past it.
Interviewing is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that was my third.
That was your number 3.
What's your third?
Okay. Think that we have spent since COVID, really, post-COVID, teaching sellers how to sell to the CFO. Because we knew that suddenly things were consolidating, especially in SaaS, you had to sell to the CFO. But my new spin on that for 2026 is that you are not selling to the CFO. You are training your sales team to train their champion to sell to the CFO.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that is something that probably should be happening today, and it's just like a reckoning that needs to happen. But I think the question is like enablement hasn't necessarily caught up to that yet. So like what do we need to enable sellers with to like they have to enable now. Like I think about them as enablers, like is what you described, like
Totally.
how do we teach that to people?
Well, I think the first step is, again, this could be a very long episode too, but is understanding, is your champion really your champion, or are they just an advocate? Are they going to go to the CFO and have the conversation for you? So there's the testing of the CFO, but then having the business language and the value conversation that's different than maybe the conversation they have with their peer.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be elevating the conversation using different language, things like that. And then obviously the business case, but a realistic business case that can be said on an elevator.
Yeah. And I think one of the great ways that you can show up as a seller in that way is producing some sort of slide that your CFO can use in a board meeting or in the ELT meeting. Like you're arming them with the ability for them to look good. And that's something I think like on the other selling side, like you can help provide or help draft. So you're making everyone look good up the stack. And that's always a win across the board.
100%. Okay. Number 4, what do you got?
Okay. We talked a lot last year, both live and on the podcast, about TikTok style enablement. It's like my whole thing at my day job. Like we need short form content. Like people are people at the end of the day. And so how they absorb information in their day to day life is the same way they want to absorb it in their work life. But I think that I think that's still true. But what I see happening already, and maybe in service of AI, but possibly just because of how people are consuming information, is we're going to start to get very small bits of written information as well, like bite sized documents, not long, lengthy messaging guides or positioning guides for a product. You need all these bite sized context because you just want to know that one piece of information when you're asking the question. You don't want to scan a whole document to get to it. You're going to give up. And yes, you can feed these large documents into your chat GPT and it can inform people about like answer those questions on the spot. But you want to be able to surface up in real time as systems evolve, like whether it's in Slack context or on a sidebar in Zoom or whatever the solution might be, some of these blurbs. And I think building in these small text style enablements is going to be a big shift for not just enablement and RevOps teams, but PMM as well.
Totally. And I 100% agree because I think that's what they're used to doing and having to do things in smaller forms. My biggest concern around that is governance.
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer for you. So I'm not pretending I do. But that's what gets me nervous when it's in these short forms because it just means there's more of them.
More of them. But it also means when one thing about the product changes, you aren't rewriting an entirely new document and you have like an old version of the same document out there. You're just replacing the sub pieces. So maybe there's some chat GPT intermediary that's supporting this. So you're not creating the short term, you're creating the backbone document still and you have that, but then it's coming out in short form and there's control there. I'm not sure either. I don't have the answer. I think that it will create a governance issue for sure. I agree. Okay. You're on number 4 now. What's your 4?
Number 4. Okay. So I think these are our last ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I had two. I'm going to pick the one that I feel more passionate about, which is around digital sales rooms.
Mm.
I love a digital sales room. Every time I work with my clients, I have the conversation around if you're not invested in one, I actually don't care which vendor you go with, but like you need to get a digital sales room. It's super important. But I also think they're super outdated right now. And
Okay.
they are not using the technology that they should or could be used. And so I think this is the year where we see digital sales rooms really step up and become the command center for a deal. And they're powered by AI. So all of your meetings are going in there, all of your proposals, all of your documents. It's smart so that your buyer can go ask the room a question and they can find the answer really easily. Similar to how you're searching and using ChatGPT, you can use that in a digital
Mm.
sales room. Because I think that the hardest thing for a buyer and the thing that slows down deals is, oh, I have a question. I could email and get that answer, or I'm going to have to wait for them to resend me that document. If you can quickly get an answer, get back to your champion, your CFO with whatever that is, it's just going to create velocity. And so I think digital sales rooms there's an opportunity there, and I feel like someone's going to take it. I have no idea who that is.
Okay, maybe spiciest question of the episode. Do you think that digital sales rooms will replace CRMs?
Oh, Tiffany, I wasn't prepared for that.
I know. But think about it. If that's what you're using in your day to day and it's got all of that metadata in there that you otherwise, if you can ask it anything, ask it who the champion is, ask it you can
So that the rep is only putting things into the digital sales room and that data is being extracted into
Snowflake.
potentially CRM. Well, I love it as a seller, former seller, and as an enabler. Like, yes,
Not.
because like, why not just enter at once? We should go do this. How do we
We'll
go do
put a
this?
pin in it for 2027 predictions.
Okay. I
I
mean,
think it's
maybe
too
that can
early.
happen this year. AI moves so
I
fast.
know it does. But I do think that's one of the keys though to unlocking what you're using. Like ultimately sellers know they have to get everything into their CRM. And so you struggle sometimes to use digital sales room because it's just another place you have to put information and so you have to sell
Yeah,
them value. You have to get your sales team bought in on the value that they're creating for their buyer and why their sales cycle will move better. But if you replaced the other systems, like if, your call
totally.
recording system and everything, why not?
Huge Gong fan, been with them for a very long time. They don't have a digital sales room. And I like just think this is opportunity. Gong, if you're listening, why don't you have a digital sales room? You've got all the deal data there.
Why does Salesforce not have one?
Oh, that's a good point too.
Yeah, I mean, so many companies have. I think it is the right interface to your point for how customers want to interact, and it's the great place to coalesce all the data about a customer. So why is it not a CRM at that point?
Totally. And if I'm the seller, I don't care about giving you my information,
Yeah,
RevOps, but I do care about giving my customer the information. So I'm way more likely to fill it out. There's obviously some fields that need to be internal, like this person is a
well, yeah,
detractor. You can't put that in the digital sales room, but if it's in that flow of work, I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have
Big ideas. Look
yeah,
at that.
yeah. 2026, predictable, but not in the world of AI whatsoever.
Yeah.
Predictable for our personal lives and not in the AI world.
It's going to be a good year. I do predict that. And I think we're going to have some fun. We also, new year, new website. We actually have had this website up for a while, but if you have not checked out our website, please go to www.therevenueinsiders.com. We have all our podcasts up there. We have our blogs up there. My consulting work is up there.
Ways
All
to
of our thought leadership
yeah,
things are up there.
ways to interact with us. If you want to be a guest or know someone that you think would be a great guest, you can message us through the website. So it's definitely the place to be.
And if you were on our original website, V1 and V2 were not as pretty. V3, we hired someone. So
Yeah.
we're getting big time.
Yeah. The big time. Well, I always love these episodes, Cal, because I love looking back at them at the end of the year, even the midpoint of the year was really exciting to look back at for 2025. So I'm excited to see where all of this is going to go.
Yay. Okay. Happy New Year, everyone. And thanks for being a listener. If you're enjoying these episodes, please give us a follow and a rating on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. It helps others find us. And we just appreciate it.
Thank you.